I don't have any money to give you, I said firmly, looking at my husband, Kevin. He barely acknowledged my words, his eyes gleaming with a self-centered excitement. I'm going to stay with her when she turns 20, he declared, referring to his mistress. My heart ached as I looked at him. Kevin, who had been diagnosed with terminal cancer, was in need of treatment, but all he could think about was leaving me for someone else. I had forgiven him so many times for his habitual infidelity, always for the sake of our daughter Amy. It felt cruel to rip her away from her father when she was so attached to him. After you and your parents die, all the property will be mine, he said bluntly, almost giddy at the thought of inheriting the insurance money and the real estate my family owned. He had no shame, no empathy for my suffering, but he didn't realize he would be the one to lose everything in the end. I'm 37 now, living with Kevin and our daughter Amy. We met through work, and I was charmed by his smooth talk and easy manner. Without realizing it, I fell for him, and after dating for a while, we got married. My family was wealthy, owning multiple properties, but I had kept that a secret from Kevin to protect myself from opportunists. When he finally saw my family home for the marriage introduction, he was shocked. Kevin had seemed different from the others. He was genuinely pleased upon discovering the truth, and my parents, happy with him, even promised us a house as a gift when he became their son-in-law. It felt like the perfect beginning. Kevin was sweet, and every day after our wedding was filled with happiness. But it didn't last. Kevin, I'm pregnant, I announced 6 months into our marriage, beaming with joy. Oh, is that so? He replied with barely a flicker of excitement. His reaction confused me, but I dismissed it. Soon, he began coming home late more and more often. I was suffering from morning sickness and eventually had to stop working, so I questioned his late returns. I'm just busy with work, he would say curtly. I believed him, trying to cope with household duties and preparing for our baby's arrival. Even after Amy was born, nothing changed. Kevin continued to come home late, never helping with chores or caring for our daughter. I convinced myself he was just overwhelmed with work, but I was drowning in the responsibilities of motherhood. By the time Amy started elementary school, I was accustomed to doing everything on my own. Then one night, while Kevin was in the bath, I saw a notification flash on his phone, a message from a woman, filled with heart emojis. My heart sank. When I confronted him, he sneered. How dare you, Snoop? That's low, he shot back. So, you've been cheating, I said, my voice trembling. I wondered why you always came home late. So what? Kevin shrugged, his tone indifferent. Are you planning to divorce me? I couldn't believe his casual response. He didn't care at all about what he had done to our family. Before I could say more, Amy walked into the room, her face worried. Mommy, what's going on? She asked, clearly having heard the argument. Did I wake you? I'm sorry, sweetie, I said, forcing a smile. Do you love Daddy? I asked her. Yes, she replied without hesitation. Would you be sad if Daddy wasn't here? Yeah, I'd be really sad, she said softly. I felt tears stain my eyes. Kevin's betrayal hurt, but Amy's love for her father was pure. How could I tear her world apart by divorcing him? Faced with Kevin's callousness and Amy's innocent attachment to him, I found myself unable to leave. I bit my lip, knowing I would have to endure. Kevin's behavior didn't change. He continued staying out late, clearly spending time with his mistress. But on his days off, he was the perfect father, playing with Amy and showering her with affection. I lacked the strength to initiate a divorce, and as Amy grew older and busier with school and extracurriculars, life continued in a monotonous routine. Now, Amy is in middle school, and our lives are even more hectic. My mornings are filled with packing lunches, ironing her martial arts uniform, and handling an endless list of daily chores. I throw myself into taking care of Amy, keeping my mind occupied so I can avoid thinking about the man who shattered our marriage. I suddenly felt nauseous and rushed to the bathroom, vomiting up my meal. Are you okay, Mom? Amy asked, her voice filled with concern. I'm just feeling a bit under the weather, I reassured her, trying to smile. I'll be fine after some rest. You go ahead and get to school. After she left, I lay down for a bit, hoping the rest would help. I assumed it was just a minor stomach issue, but as the days passed, the pain grew worse. My husband didn't come home again last night, as usual. For Amy's sake, I pushed through, trying to keep up with the household chores despite the growing pain, but eventually, I hit my limit. I went to see a doctor who told me they'd contact me with the results later. The pain became unbearable. I couldn't do any chores. All I could manage was to lie in bed. That's when Kevin finally came home. Must be nice lying around all day and skipping the chores, he said coldly, oblivious to my suffering. The scent of another woman's perfume lingered on him. Anger and sadness washed over me, but I had no energy to confront him. A few days later, the hospital called. Please come in with a family member for the results, they said. Can't I come alone? I asked, my voice trembling. We prefer you bring someone with you, was their gentle reply. When I asked Kevin to come with me, he scoffed. Impossible, he said, brushing me off without a second thought. He didn't come home that night either, leaving me to face this alone. Reluctantly, I asked my parents to accompany me to the hospital. The doctor greeted us with a grave expression. You have stomach cancer, he said, his voice steady but serious. It has spread to other organs. It's stage 4. We need to begin treatment immediately. Stage 4. That means it's terminal, right? I asked, barely able to get the words out. The doctor nodded solemnly. Yes, but we need to act quickly to extend your life. Everything around me went still. My thoughts froze. Amy had just started middle school this spring. I was supposed to watch her grow, be there for her milestones, her firsts. But now, would I even get to see those moments? Overwhelmed by shock, I couldn't hold back my tears. When I got home, Amy returned from school and saw me crying. She ran over immediately. Mom, why are you crying? She asked, her voice trembling. I'm sorry, sweetie, I said, trying to compose myself. I have to go to the hospital. I'll need to stay there for a while. What? She said, her eyes welling up. I gently explained my illness, and soon Amy was crying too. The pain of seeing her like that was almost worse than the cancer itself. When Kevin finally came home and I told him about the diagnosis, his only reaction was mild surprise. No concern, no comfort. How bad is it? He asked flatly. In the worst case, 6 months. But treatment could extend that, I said, exhausted from both the conversation and the situation. I didn't even have the energy to be angry at his detached response. All I could think about was preparing for the hospital stay, and how I'd fight to hold on, for Amy's sake. I took care of signing all the documents, arranged the housework, and handled the insurance procedures before being admitted to the hospital. I entrusted Kevin with taking care of our home and Amy. Please look after the house and Amy, I asked, hoping for a sincere response. Yeah, he muttered, not even making eye contact with me. Days passed without a single visit from him. I quietly spent my time in the hospital, trying to keep my mind off the pain. One afternoon, just as I was about to lie down after lunch, Kevin suddenly appeared in my hospital room, looking hurried. What's going on? I asked, surprised by his sudden appearance. I finished dealing with the insurance, he said, a smug look on his face. I didn't realize cancer insurance paid out so much just for being hospitalized. I blinked, confused. What are you talking about? Kevin smirked. I'm going to take paid leave starting tomorrow and go on a trip. What? My voice shook with disbelief. You won't be around much longer anyway, he said coldly. You won't need all this insurance money. I'm going to use it to travel with my girlfriend. She's 20 and she's been wanting to go to Cancun. I stared at him in shock. Wait a minute, that money is for my treatment costs. What about Amy? I'm not wasting money on someone with no future, he said, his tone heartless. As for Amy, why don't you ask your parents to take care of her? Thanks for the money, though. I was speechless. Kevin had checked the insurance payout and taken it for himself, planning to use it for a trip with the woman he was having an affair with. My stomach ached, but it wasn't just from the cancer. It was from the utter betrayal. True to his word, Kevin left for his trip with his mistress, leaving me behind in the hospital. My parents and Amy came to visit, furious at what he had done. I felt indescribable frustration. Not only had he abandoned me, but he also stole the money meant for my treatment to enjoy an overseas trip with his lover. It was unforgivable. When I was first told my cancer was at stage 4, all I felt was despair. But now, a new resolve burned within me. I couldn't give up. My anger toward Kevin turned into a vow of revenge. He never visited, and I had no idea where he was or what he was doing. Meanwhile, Amy never went back to live with him, and it seemed he didn't care about losing contact with her either. But every day, Amy visited me after school, and my parents stood by me, offering support. It was their warmth and strength that helped me endure the grueling treatments. Their love was the only thing that kept me going. Finally, the day came when I was discharged from the hospital. I expressed my heartfelt thanks to the nurses and doctors who had cared for me, and with Amy by my side, I headed home. After being hospitalized for a month and a half, I miss my home dearly. Walking through the door with Amy's support, I felt both relief and determination. I was home, and I was ready to reclaim my life. When I arrived home and opened the front door, I was greeted by the sight of shoes, Kevin's, and a pair that clearly belonged to a woman I didn't recognize. "What's this?" Amy muttered under her breath, her tone filled with discontent. Even though she was just in middle school, she was old enough to understand that Kevin was cheating. She also knew just how wrong it was. "Wait here for me, okay?" I said softly. I didn't want to expose her to any more pain than she had already been through. Confronting Kevin and the woman he was with was something I could handle on my own. Leaving Amy at the entrance, I stepped into the house alone and raised my voice deliberately. "I'm home. I've returned." Kevin appeared from the bedroom, hurriedly adjusting his clothes, his expression a mix of shock and annoyance. The kitchen was a mess, empty noodle cups, ready meal boxes, and alcohol cans scattered everywhere, far more than one person could consume. What are you doing here?" Kevin stammered, clearly caught off guard. After sending Amy to stay with her grandparents, he must have thought he had free rein to bring his mistress home. "I came back because I was discharged from the hospital. But what is this? What's going on here? And who is she?" A young woman emerged slowly from the bedroom, her outfit barely more than lingering, her makeup smudged and messy. "You told me your wife would be coming back," she said, looking at Kevin with confusion. "You said this was your house, didn't you?" I stared at them both, trying to contain my rising anger. "This house was handed down to me by my parents," I said firmly. "It's my house. It's not strange for me to come back to my own home." The woman shot Kevin a puzzled look. "But you told me this was your house." Kevin, ever the show-off, scoffed and waved his hand dismissively. "Ah, but it's practically my house now," he said, clearly trying to maintain his charade in front of her. "Why would this house be yours?" I asked, narrowing my eyes at him. Kevin smirked, the arrogance in his voice palpable. "Because you won't be around much longer. Once you're gone, as your husband, everything becomes mine, your inheritance, all of it. I'll get the insurance payout too. With that money, I'll travel wherever I want, buy whatever I want." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. He had already written me off, assuming that once I was gone, he'd live a carefree life with my inheritance and insurance money. The betrayal was deeper than I could have ever imagined. But I wasn't done yet. "I like that. Sounds great. I want an Hermes bag," the young woman exclaimed, her voice giddy with excitement. "Don't worry, I'll buy you anything," Kevin responded, clearly pleased by her enthusiasm. The sight of a man in his 40s fawning over a 20-year-old was beyond ridiculous, but I had reached my limit. "You won't be getting a single penny," I said, my voice cutting through their conversation. Kevin turned to me, confused. "What are you talking about?" "I've changed the beneficiary of my insurance from you to Amy. So no, you won't be cashing in on anything." His smug expression faltered for a moment before he laughed mockingly. "Are you serious? Amy's a minor. As her legal guardian, I'll get the money. Everything will still be mine in the end. Besides, your parents are loaded. Once they're gone, their inheritance will come to me too. That'd be amazing. We could live it up, right?" His arrogance was staggering. He actually believed that he could inherit my family's wealth after my death and my parents'. But I had no intention of continuing this marriage any longer. Without hesitation, I pulled out a stack of documents from my bag. "Take a look at these," I said, handing them over. "They're from the court. Could you sign and return them as soon as possible? I want this divorce finalized quickly." Kevin's face twisted in shock. "Wait, what? I didn't hear anything about a divorce." "That's why I'm telling you now," I replied, calm but firm. "If you prefer that woman, then both of you should leave. I have no reason to stay in this marriage anymore." His expression darkened. "So, you're just throwing me out now? What about this house? I'm your husband, your son-in-law. I have a right to it. And what happens to Amy if we get divorced? Without me, and eventually without you, she'll be all alone. I've already arranged for my parents to take care of Amy if anything happens to me," I said coolly. "You've neglected both of us long enough. And as for my parents, they won't be around forever. But Amy will have their support. She doesn't need someone like you dragging her down." Kevin's face turned red, his hands shaking with frustration. "Don't act all high and mighty with me. You really think you're just going to cut me out? After everything?" "Yes," I said, unwavering. "Being with someone as unfaithful and selfish as you would be the real pity." Amy deserves better than to grow up in a house full of lies and neglect. Kevin sputtered, trying to come up with a retort. That's not true. Amy's still in middle school. She needs me. She doesn't need you, I said, my voice firm. She needs stability, love, and a future without deception. And that's what I'm going to give her. She likes me and would be devastated if we divorced. You're her mother. If you really care about Amy, you shouldn't go through with this, Kevin said with a smug expression, as if he had me cornered. It was the same tactic he'd used before, manipulating my love for Amy to make me hesitate about divorce. For years, I had clung to the belief that staying together was better for her, assuming she admired Kevin as a father. But who was the one that abandoned his middle school daughter to go on a trip with another woman? Hey, Kevin suddenly yelled, his voice so loud that Amy, still waiting at the entrance, must have heard everything. The realization that she was within earshot took him by surprise. He didn't expect to be caught. I don't want a dad who flirts with younger women and ignores his wife, Amy said, stepping forward, her voice filled with disgust. Hey, Amy, it's not what it looks like, Kevin stammered, desperately trying to save face. Please leave. This is my and Mom's house, Amy said firmly. Kevin's face fell. Wait, think about it. Your mom's not going to be around much longer. This house is too big for just you two. We can live together, and a young mom would be nice, right? The woman standing beside him looked awkward, realizing the conversation had taken a serious turn. Ha! I'm not interested in being anyone's mother, the woman interjected. Didn't you say you'd send your daughter away? Stop it, I snapped. Now you're lying in front of her. Kevin's voice faltered. Amy, you still like me, don't you? No way, that's disgusting, Amy said coldly. Her words struck him silent. It was disgusting, bringing in a mistress and talking about a new mom while I was still battling an illness. Kevin, I began, my voice steady but resolute, you're making a huge mistake. And just so you know, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. He blinked, clearly taken aback. What? But you said it was terminal cancer. It was terminal, but surgery removed most of the cancer, and chemotherapy and radiation have worked better than expected. I'm still being monitored, but for now, the cancer is in remission. I'm not going anywhere for a long time. I hadn't heard that. You didn't bother asking, I said sharply. I told you there was hope. You just never listened. I could get better, but you weren't listening, were you? Why do you think I was discharged if things were so hopeless? I said, glaring at him. I thought you wanted to spend your last moments at home, Kevin muttered weakly. I scoffed. What a conveniently selective memory you have. Unfortunately for you, this house belongs to me and I'll be living here from today. So, could you leave right now? Wait, just hold on a minute, Kevin said, his voice rising in desperation. There's no need to rush into this. We should reconsider the divorce. What happened with her was just a fling, and I'll cut ties with her. Let's start over. It's not too late. I glanced at Amy. Her face showed a mix of shock and disbelief. You really think we can just start over? I asked, unable to believe his audacity. I have no intention of going back to how things were. Don't say that. Kevin dropped to his knees, grabbing my feet as if begging for mercy. I'll never have an affair again. I'll stop seeing other women. Please, let's give it another chance. The woman standing nearby looked disgusted by his sudden plea, her interest clearly fading as his desperation became obvious. I shook my head. Do you really think I want a divorce just because of the affair? Then what else could it be? He asked, genuinely confused. I sighed, the weight of everything pressing on me. I've reached a point where I don't care if you see other women. The real issue is that when your family faced a life-threatening illness, not only did you fail to worry, but you spent the money meant for my treatment on a vacation. You're not just an unfaithful husband, you're a selfish, heartless man who's toxic for Amy's future. So please leave. But how will you survive if you can't work? You're too sick. How will you make a living? He stammered, trying to grasp any excuse to hold on. I have insurance and the money will be deposited into my account next week. So no, there's nothing for you, I said coldly. His face turned pale. That won't do. I spent everything on the trip. I was counting on your hospital fees for the next payout. I don't have the $155,000 I used, and if I lose the house, I'll have nowhere to live. My life will be ruined. That's not my problem anymore, I replied, unmoved. You ruined it yourself. I hoped Kevin might reconsider the divorce, but my decision was firm. Unfortunately, my mind is made up. Leave? Amy, can't you ask your mom to think this over? Kevin pleaded. No, I don't want to see your face anymore, I said, resolute. With those words, Amy, now stronger and more assertive from her martial arts training, pushed Kevin and the other woman out the front door. Even though he was much older, he was no match for her strength. I watched with a mixture of pride and amusement as Amy, who had grown into a formidable young woman, managed to drag him along. The sight of Kevin's pitiful state made me smile. The commotion attracted the attention of the police, who arrived shortly after a neighbor's report. They quickly escorted Kevin and his companion away. As I watched them leave, I couldn't help but laugh at their absurdity. A year has passed and I have miraculously overcome cancer. My health has fully recovered and there has been no recurrence. I've returned to work in a simple clerical position. Despite my parents insisting that I didn't need to work, I felt uncomfortable sitting idle and wanted to contribute to the household finances, so I've been helping out with chores around the house. Meanwhile, Kevin's life had taken a turn for the worse. Abandoned by his affair partner and burdened with massive debt, he had squandered my treatment funds and inheritance on a lavish lifestyle. Now, he struggled to repay a debt nearing $65,000. I learned this through mutual acquaintances, as Kevin and I used to work at the same place. His financial irresponsibility and poor habits had led to weight gain and loss of interest from women, leaving him leading a lonely life. Given that Amy expressed a strong desire to leave her old home, sickened by memories of Kevin and the other woman, we decided to move back to my parents' house. The property was sold for a good price due to its location, providing us with enough funds to live comfortably without working for a while. I had received numerous requests for financial help from Kevin, but I found them intrusive and blocked his calls. Today, Amy competed in a martial arts tournament, where her skills have continued to impress. I want to become strong to protect Mom, she said with determination. I cheered her on. Good luck, Amy. The tension in the venue was palpable as the match began. Amy executed a flawless throw and won the championship. How should we celebrate? I asked. Let's stay up late and watch a movie, Amy suggested. Sounds good. I'll grab some popcorn, I agreed. I've been wanting to see that movie. As we left the venue, I couldn't help but worry about the challenges of being a single mother, especially during Amy's sensitive middle school years. But despite everything, Amy has grown into a remarkably honest and straightforward person, surpassing my expectations. I have no regrets about divorcing Kevin. In fact, the ordeal has strengthened the bond between Amy and me. Though there is still a risk of recurrence and future challenges, with Amy by my side, I am confident we can face and overcome any obstacle together.